Welcome to this video review on the Zhiyun Crane handheld stabilizer designed for small mirrorless cameras and DSLRs. Now, I've had the Zhiyun Crane for a couple of months now, and I've been able to put it through its paces in a couple of different scenarios. I've shot a promotional video with it, and I've also taken it out in the field and used it for a couple of personal projects. So what I thought would be useful is to go through how I set it up, how I balance it, and then go through the pros and cons that I've found having used it for the past couple of months. So the Crane comes in this hard shell case, which is a nice addition. I tend not to use it all that much because it usually ends up in my backpack along with my filming gear, but it's nice to have. It's cut with foam inserts, and what's good to see is that everything you need fits within this case. So you get two sets of batteries, which is actually really nice. The battery life on the Zhiyun Crane is fantastic. I can shoot all day on one set of batteries and they seem just to last forever. So even though they do last forever, they give you two sets, which is great. So you can have one charging while you're still filming. Also in the box is a small tripod stand. This came with my kit. It doesn't tend to come with all of them, but it's fairly inexpensive, and you'll need this, or it's a real benefit to have one of these when you're balancing the crane. The other things you get are a remote control. Don't tend to ever really use this. You can link the Zhiyun Crane via your smartphone via Bluetooth, and you can control it with your smartphone. So haven't really found myself using it too much. Charger as well. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead, set it up, get it balanced for my GH4, and just show you how I do it and how long it takes roughly. So you'll need the handle, some batteries. Handle screws in to the top part of the gimbal, and what's really nice is that there is a 1/4 thread on the bottom, which is where you can attach a mini tripod. You could also put it in a quick release plate and then mount it in a tripod as well if you wanted to. And that is the crane set up ready for balancing. Now what we have to do is place our camera on there, and so I'm using Panasonic GH4. For me, I've had different cameras on this. I've had a Sony A7S, a 5D Mark III, and of all the cameras, the GH4 I think is one of the best, and the main reason for that is the articulating screen that comes out of the side. When you're actually flying the gimbal, you'll see that it's quite hard to see what you're shooting a lot of the time. And even with the Sony cameras that have the articulating screen on the back, they don't actually come out to the side. And so being able to have a screen out to the side, which you can maneuver around, is really beneficial when filming. So what you need to do is now attach the camera, and you do this through the slots in the bottom plate here. What I tend to do and what I recommend is that if you just put your camera on, keep a hand on it, don't let it go. But what you're trying to do is just get the camera to feel roughly like it's balancing on this plate. Generally, the lighter the camera and the smaller the lens, the further forward it will need to be. If you have a very long lens, you're going to need to be right at the back. And what I recommend doing is removing the eye cup from the electronic viewfinder, because that will, especially if you're mounting near the back, it will catch on this part here. I know from memory that I need to mount somewhere near the front. The other thing you want to do is remove any lens caps you have, flip your screen out, turn your camera on, and I'll actually get the lens out, screw your camera on, and I know just from memory that it's roughly around here. With your camera attached, you'll now want to balance it. And what you want to start off with is this screw here, which does the tilt axis. So we need to loosen this off, and what you want to do is point your camera directly upwards and then move it in and out until it will stay in that position. Once it's staying pointing upright, just tighten this screw up so it's locked in, and then what we want to do is move our camera level, and depending on whether now it tilts forward or back, is what we want to undo the thumb screw which attaches the camera to the base plate. And I can see there it's falling away, so I need to push it forward and then tighten that up. It's tight, it's falling slightly backwards, so I need to go forward a little bit. And what I should be able to do is then put the camera in any tilt orientation and it should stay there. Next, what I want to do is the roll axis. And once again, what I'm doing is undoing the thumb screw here, and this affects the roll axis. So I need to push this bar backwards or forwards, and it's very sensitive, this one, so ever so slightly, pushing it in or out, and then tightening this screw, and so the camera should remain in a horizontal position. And I can move it like that, or have it at an angle, and it should stay there. So that is now balanced in the tilt axis and also the roll axis. The final one is to now do the pan axis. And to do this, what I want to do is actually just take the crane and have it on its side, keep this roughly about level, undo the thumb screw here, and then what you're trying to do is get the gimbal to stay level like it is now. So if it's moving down or up, you just want to move the bar in and out and then tighten the thumb screw. The other way to check that you've done the pan axis correctly is if you just put the camera on its side like this. Once again, it shouldn't tilt up or down. It should be nicely horizontal like so. So that's now balanced. I can pop it back down on the table. And so when the crane's perfectly balanced, the test to check it is that you should be able to put it in just about any orientation and it should remain there. If it moves ever so slightly, don't get too worried about it. But there you go, you can see that's pretty much completely balanced. Now, it generally takes me about 2 or 3 minutes to do this, but that's because I've done it many times now and I've got a pretty good feeling for how it works. When you're first starting out with it, don't get stressed and don't worry if it's not balancing perfectly. Just take your time. It may take you 20 minutes or 30 minutes the first time you do it, but once you've done it and you've worked out where your camera positions, then you'll pretty much have it locked down. What will happen is when you change lenses or change your camera setup, your position of where you need to mount your camera will change. And like I said, the smaller the camera and the lighter the setup, generally the further forward it will need to go. With longer lenses, further towards the back, heavier is going to be more front heavy, so mounting it towards the back. So I go ahead and turn it on, and when you turn it on, you want to keep one hand on the unit. And now we have a nice setup that's balanced. I can move it around and it's nice and stable. So there's various different modes that you can use. You can have one that's completely locked, and so the camera will always remain in the forward position, and no matter how much I twist the handle or move around, it will always point forward. I have a little thumbstick on the handle here, and this allows me in this mode to tilt up and down and also pan the camera left and right. In the other modes, I can have it in a pan follow mode. So as I pan the camera around, it will follow my movement. And I can also have it in a pan and tilt follow mode. So when I tilt it down, it follows me, and when I pan it as well. The modes that I find most useful are the completely locked mode. If I want to do, say, a crane shot or a dolly, I want to have the camera locked off so it's not moving side to side. And then if I'm shooting a subject that's moving around a little bit more, the pan follow mode works best. I don't tend to use the pan and tilt. I like to have the tilt locked and just pan as I want to. Now, like I said, I've used this for the last couple of months. I've used it to shoot a promotional video, which you can check out. I'll put the link in the description below, and also a couple of personal projects. And once again, the video link will be in the description below. I really like it. It enables me to achieve lots of different moves that I would usually need lots of different bits of kit for. So I would either need a slider, a jib, and I can get lots of those shots just with this one setup, which is great, and I really love that. So it enables me to move fastly. What you need to remember is that you do need time to set it up, to calibrate it. If you're changing lenses, you're going to have to rebalance it. So it's definitely not a complete run and gun piece of kit. It does need time to set up and calibrate it and get the best out of it. The other thing that I like about it is that it's really small and lightweight, especially with this type of setup on it. I've used things like glide cams before and bigger setups like the Movi, and these tend to really kill your arms after a while. You know, 30 seconds, a minute long take, or a minute of just holding it, especially outstretched, is a really long time. Whereas I found with this stabilizer that I can actually use it for quite extended periods of time without getting too fatigued at all. Like I said, it's very easy to set up. They've clearly thought about the product, so having things like the quarter 20 thread on the bottom is fantastic as well. The 2 sets of battery and the very long battery life that you get out of it is a massive plus. One thing to bear in mind with stabilizers is they won't take out all the movement from your shots. As you can see, it's very good at stabilizing, but that's what it's doing. It's stabilizing, it's not removing movement. And what you'll find is that when you do get movement in your shots, it tends to be vertical movement, and that's because there's no stabilization within that axis. It's a 3-axis gimbal. It doesn't stabilize within the vertical axis. So when you're holding something very close to the camera and trying to remain still, you'll find that you will get a little bit of stutter and you will tend to get a little bit of up and down movement. The other thing to bear in mind with stabilizers is there is a learning curve associated with using them. You do want to get your hands on them and have a play, experiment, use different types of lenses, see what the movement is like, play around with your camera position, try different types of shots out before you actually use it in the field or on a paid job, for example. Don't expect to pick this up straight away, slap a camera on it and get amazing cinematic Hollywood type shots straight away. You do definitely need to practice with them. A few negatives that I found with the setup: the hand grip is overall pretty good and nice and sturdy, but one thing that I do find sometimes is that my hand will just creep up a little bit and it will start accidentally falling on the thumbstick or pressing these buttons at the side, and that can be slightly annoying sometimes. Doesn't happen very often, but it's just a minor gripe that I have. Overall, I think the Zhiyun Crane is a great bit of kit. It travels with me pretty much on every job that I do. I love the fact that it's small, compact, fits in my backpack, that one set of batteries will pretty much last all day, and I really like the fact that I can get lots of different shots with just this one small setup. Hopefully that's been useful, and if you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments below. If you're already using the Zhiyun Crane or you've got a similar setup, then tell me about your experiences as well in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button for more content. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.